Okay guys, so in the previous video I went through my FTMO, the 200k verification, and you guys wanted to see the trades I took on this. Maybe even I could show you the challenge too, but today we're going to talk about how I passed the verification in one trade, one GU trade, whilst I was in London, you know, sat in a hotel, having my bed and breakfast, had the laptop there, saw the setup, fit the plan absolutely perfectly, was in London session, which is when I usually trade GU, so I executed the trade, and then we actually got hit the profit target and actually made the profit, which we needed to pass the phase 2 of the FTMO. Before you comment, ignore the hair. Have actually just woken up, so haven't actually been able to shower yet, but we're trying to get the videos out for you guys and keep the content flowing on the channel. So as you see, these are the metrics. I showed it in the last video, but if you haven't seen that, then here we go. We technically had 2 trades, but it was 2 entries, 2 executions on this one setup, which actually made us around $10,000. And as you see, they have all completed, and we've pretty much passed all of these. So then hopefully by Monday or on Monday we get the funded account details, and then I can make another video updating you guys on the trades I actually take on the funded account and the profit split, which I'm actually going to hopefully get. I think you can do it for 2 weeks, which is what I did last time. And what I'm going to do is, with the profit, hopefully buy another Rolex, depending on how much we make, or just continue to compound my personal FX book track record account, which is obviously public for you guys to see whenever you want. You might leave it in the description, or you might have to go find it yourself. But here are the metrics. As you see, there's no point going through these metrics because it's pretty much a load of rubbish, because you've got all these 0.01 days, which don't really add up and make everything seem decent. But here are the 2 trades that we're actually talking about. So you see, we're only in the trade for around 2 hours. I guess it does seem like a decent amount of time, but for like day trading, it's not really a large amount of time. And that's what I found with these funded accounts. When you're risking 1% or 2%, I actually risked 1.5% on this trade, and I'll go through that when I go on the charts. Often what I do is, when I'm on the challenges and the verification, you know, this is just how I personally do it. So basically what I'm trying to say is, I don't need to pass these because I have other income, I have other businesses which generate multiple 6 figures in a year. So let's say I risk 2%, and you know, often people say, oh, risk a lower percent, 0.5% or 1%. I personally like risking 1.5 to 2% only on the challenges and the verification, so I can pass them quicker. What I do is I try and pass them as quick as possible, get the first profit split, and then after that it's completely risk free. Let's say you blow the account, doesn't matter, you've made profit. You've made more profit than you would have if you put that 500 or that 900 into your own account and traded it. So that's why I actually do risk that higher percentage. Obviously you have a higher chance of blowing it. I could have a losing streak and blow the challenge, but overall it doesn't really matter. What I personally do is I wait for a perfect setup. So I only actually place that first trade once I've got that perfect setup that I know, okay, if this plays out, it's got all the confluences and it fits the plan perfectly. So I only take the first trade on the challenge or the verification once I've got this absolutely perfect setup, and that's what I do. And that's how, if you've probably seen on the channel, I often pass either first trade or within a couple days, because I wait for these perfect setups before then taking the trade, before then executing, and then that's how I pass quickly. Risking 2%, I only had to make 2.5 R, which is what I did, and it was pretty much perfect. So if we're actually looking here, one entry was slightly lower, and I will go through that. But as you see, $6,200 and $4,000 here, 20 lots and 15 lots. So a lot of people like to comment on the lot sizes, but it is obviously all relative to your risk, your stop loss size, the pair you're trading, your account balance, your loss limits. So I don't think anyone can comment on another person's lot sizes or risk, because they don't know how they trade, they don't know what pairs they're trading, they don't know their stop loss size. So just leave the comments out for that one. But going on to the charts now, this was the setup I actually took. Originally, I was looking to sell from around this area. I can't remember if it was on the hour or not, but this was the area I was actually looking to sell from. And this was actually my target, but there's no point putting a target on there because we didn't actually hold to the target, and I'll explain why. But this area, if we just go back, this was where we were actually looking to sell from. So I had the sell setup marked, and this was going to be the trade I was going to take on this verification to hopefully pass it. However, I had a perfect setup on the buys. So you see, if we draw this across here, this level was a perfect setup. You know, let's see trade support and resistance. This is literally textbook as well for that. You got a retest, and often when price actually does break structure to the downside, like you've seen here, we kind of started moving to the downside. So it does indicate that we are going to go to the downside. And when price actually does drop down, it obviously has to come back up to create that lower high. And when price actually rejected this area for the first time, this is when I actually got into the trade. As you see, on GU, the max stop loss size I'll actually use is 10 pips. And this was a 10 pip stop. Originally, I entered that first position, and then price came down, back up, and then I entered another position because I thought, okay, this is absolutely perfect. And I wouldn't recommend just entering more positions, but because my plan indicated that this is perfect, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go into my plan because this is my personal plan. And there's no point sharing a personal plan because it's personal to your own trading. And I don't think anyone should try and copy your own personal plan. It doesn't make sense. And then we pretty much instantly, after this wick down, which almost stopped us out, but this is why I always have that 10 pip stop, works a charm on GU. Sometimes I have 7, it's usually 7 pips or 10 pips. That's just what I found is perfect on GU for myself. Obviously it varies on gold and AU, don't really trade AU much anymore, but for gold it is varying from 10 to 20 pips on gold, which is quite small. Again, risk reward wise, you don't really need to catch a lot of pips to actually make decent risk to reward. You know, on gold, if I have a 10 pip stop, if I catch 20 pips, I've made 4 grand, you know, on a funded account of this size. So you don't really need a lot of pips to actually start making, you know, decent, like average salary money within one trade from 20 pips. So that's what I kind of think of it as. But as you see, we did start pushing up, and this is where a lot of people would actually start panicking when they're in the trade. So when they're actually in the profit on the account, and this would be around, if we just measure this, if my keyboard actually works, this is around 20 pips in profit. So this would be when I was around 4%, just under, maybe like 3.5–4% in profit on this setup. If it was someone else, or let's say a beginner trader, that they're actually in this profit, that would be around like $7,000–8,000 that they actually see on the screen. People definitely let the psychology affect them when they're in this sort of situation. When price is in profit and then you suddenly get a big drop, and it probably dropped down to, I don't know, 3 grand, 2 grand in profit, and then they're panicking. They don't want to miss the profit. They might close out early, they might move their stop loss, they might move their target, and you just got to not panic in this sort of situation. You know, if the trade is still valid, like the only reason this trade wouldn't be valid for me is if we broke this structure to the downside, which we didn't do. So that's why I was still in the trade. You know, my stop loss is there for a reason. If we break this low, we're out of the trade. If we technically break this low now, when we're actually up here, then my trade would be invalid and I wouldn't really want to be in it anymore. You know, I'm saying that, but it did tap back and then go up. However, we didn't actually break the structure to the downside, so it was still valid, you know, for my personal plan. And then this big push up, this is where we actually closed out. Normally, I always recommend holding to the target. However, obvious reasons, on a funded account, if you've met the profit target, if you've met the target which is actually set for you, just close out. There's literally no point. So I closed out for around 10k. If we look here, I made $10,313.65. It's not pence because it's in dollars, I'm not really sure what it is. Cents maybe. And this was a trade which actually passed the verification. As you see, the target which I actually had, I'm not sure if I actually had a TP on these. As you guys can see, on the MyFX book of the verification account, this was the TP level, just to prove it to you guys. So if we copy that and paste it in here, it's the exact same as the level I said, which if we draw this across, you know, technically it actually wouldn't have been hit by a pip, or like a pip or so. Yeah, 0.6 pips away from our TP, so we wouldn't even have hit the TP anyway. So it was maybe quite lucky that we actually did close out a little bit earlier. So yeah, this was the trade we actually took. As you see, it's on the MyFX book here too. The same trades, the same account balance, and you can't really fake this. I'm not really sure why people say it's fake, but people do. And this is the trade I actually took to pass. So if you guys did actually like this video, comment and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.